Tata's Nexon is here to take on the undisputed king of the sub 4 meter SUV category, the Maruti Suzuki Vitara Brezza. But as you can see, the Nexon has taken a very different line of attack, and these two machines are very different. But they have to answer the same need. Which one feels like the more versatile, the more appealing all-rounder to have in your garage? And for that, we've got a whole list of questions which we're going to get answered to answer the big question. Let's get cracking. So when it comes to attitude, which one of these is more like an SUV? That's got to be the Brezza. From its upright A-pillar, flat roof, straight lines, it just has that quintessential SUV-like stance.
The Brezza also stands a bit taller than the Nexon by 37mm.
But it's the Nexon that has more ground clearance.
And the Nexon is wider by 21mm as well. And in terms of length, both fit in within 4 meters.
But which one looks better?
Now the Brezza was never a wow design, but when placed next to the Nexon, it starts to look a little boring.
We can tell you the car that turns more heads is the Nexon. And invariably people think that it's a much more expensive car than it is. And people often didn't recognize it as a Tata.
The Nexon's shape is cooler, and so are its LED DRLs. And while those look like fog lamps, they're actually static cornering lamps.
If we have to nitpick a bit, we feel that the Nexon's white sash and those white elements over time may not age as well as the rest of the design. Which one feels more special on the inside? From the design, like this floating screen on top, the textures for the plastics, these glossy finishes here, the design for the interiors of the Nexon just feel so much more premium than anything we've seen before in this segment. Basically, this is punching well above its price class in terms of the feel on the inside.
And yes, the Nexon changes expectations.
Up until now, we really didn't have any complaints with the Brezza's cabin. Yeah, it wasn't great. But after sitting in the Nexon, these plastics, shininess, the texture, all of it starts feeling jarring. This just feels a little blah.
In terms of outright quality of materials, there really isn't much to separate the two. The Nexon though feels a bit more solid, but at the same time the finish in some places is quite tacky.
Which one packs more features?
First, neither of these cars has a sunroof. Got it? And with that out of the way,
surprise, surprise, is the older car here that packs in more features. First and foremost, there's that bigger touchscreen which also feels more responsive to use. It also packs in a reversing camera that has much better resolution than the Nexon. Yes, no bending guidelines, but we can live without that. That aside, you get automatic headlamps, automatic wipers, and cruise control as well.
And the smaller details are well thought out.
The small things, very sensibly done. Storage spaces, you have 2 glove boxes, one up here, one down here. Ample storage that way, and even smaller spaces here. But the good thing is, it's easy to reach the ports that are housed here. And of course, let's not forget the cup holders. Nothing fancy, but they work.
The Nexon has issues. The door pockets in the Tata are a bit clumsy to use, and that fancy tambour door opens the wrong way, and the cup holders underneath are just too hard to reach. The touchscreen is laggy when you actually use your fingers, and the reversing camera's poor resolution makes it practically useless if the surroundings are not well lit up. So where does the Nexon strike back?
Yes, the touchscreen is laggy. But there's something really awesome about this setup, and that's these physical buttons down here. It's so much easier to control the volume without having to take your eyes away from the road.
And let's not forget that 8-speaker Harman music system is a win for sure.
And let's not forget, it's the only one here that's offering you rear aircon vents with blower control.
When it comes to safety features, the Nexon gets ABS, EBD and dual airbags as standard. However, on the Brezza, ABS and airbags are optional for the LDI and VDI variants.
Which one has the more spacious cabin, can accommodate 3 in the back better? Just by a bit. It's the Brezza. Yup, it does feel more roomy, and one of the big reasons for that is that vertical A-pillar. It just creates more space around you, and actually it's also wider. That's also why it feels more spacious. And when it comes to the seats, nice and generous, and I like this side bolstering a lot. If you're going through corners, these really hold you in place very well.
Now in the Nexon, the cabin feels more cozy, courtesy of the swoopy design. And
interestingly, it's in the Nexon that you end up sitting higher up off the ground.
Stepping into the back seat of the Nexon, you realize that older people or sari-clad ladies will require to really stretch in. But once inside, you get more knee room here, and it also has better sculpted seats. But the seat cushioning is a bit too soft. And because of the swoopy design, the cabin doesn't feel as airy as the Marutis. The Brezza looks simple, but it delivers.
It's got the wider back seat as well, so if you want to sit 3 abreast, this is better. That aside, you do get more headroom, and the thing that I like the most about the Brezza's back seat is that it has the firmer seat cushions, and that's better for longer drives. Which one of these offers you a better boot? So the Brezza has 328 liters of boot space, which is smaller than the Nexon's 350, but it is more accommodating.
The second row folds down flat in the Nexon, but the Brezza goes one better as the boot floor becomes truly flat. And the loading lip is lower in the Brezza, which makes it much easier to put bags in.
Which one of these would you be happier in driving around in the city? Hands down, it's the Nexon that's the easier vehicle to drive when you're stuck in city traffic. And not just because of one reason. There are 2 good reasons. The first reason, the responsiveness of this engine at low RPMs is phenomenal. It can pull from 1000 RPM, just put your foot down flat and you'll have a clean build of torque. What that basically means is in stop-go traffic, you don't have to shift gears too much. And then along with that, you have the 6-speed gearbox, which makes things easier. You can actually leave it in 3rd gear and manage your whole commute, practically all of it. And then of course, even if you do end up making gear changes, you'll find that the clutch is really light and takes the stress down another level.
For the record, the Nexon has 260 Newton meters of torque. That's 60 Newton meters more than the Brezza.
The second reason is the suspension. It's set a bit on the softer side, and the way it soaks up the rough stuff is really impressive. You can glide over big speed breakers, run over potholes, and you feel just a bit of it. That's great news for our city roads.
On the other hand, the Brezza suspension setup is on the stiff side, which means you can feel a lot more of the road. As for the engine, in bumper-to-bumper traffic, it is a bit like Jekyll and Hyde. It's either mild or wild. To get around this turbo lag, you have to work the gearbox. And that answers our next question.
Which one has the punch for highway use? While it struggles in the city, it shines on the highway. Want to do a lot of quick overtaking on the highway? The Brezza's the one for that. Once past 2000 RPM, you realize that the Brezza's engine is actually quite eager. It's happy to revs quickly, and it makes power even as it heads towards its near 5000 RPM red line, which makes it very handy when you're on an open road or when you want to pass a fast-moving vehicle up ahead.
Yes, it has only 90 PS to the Nexon's 110, but the Brezza is some 110 kilograms lighter.
It might be down on par, but it's lighter, it's more eager to rev, and that helps as well.
In sport mode, the Nexon feels fairly punchy. Against the clock, it shows that it is a couple of seconds faster than in city mode. So the Nexon's engine adapts, but it doesn't like to be revved or rushed.
Well, for highways and longer journeys, the Nexon also has its plus points. It feels really stable at high speeds, and along with that, it also has the quieter cabin, and that makes longer journeys just that much more relaxing. Is one of these fun to drive? The Brezza just feels so feisty. Chuck it into a corner, it follows the line immediately that you want it to. And that aside, it of course rolls a bit, but it settles down and then just cuts through the corners so nicely. It makes it very enjoyable. Yes, it's a bit fidgety, but more experienced drivers will enjoy it.
The Nexon can't be called fun. The engine lacks punch at higher revs, and even the chassis has a different attitude. It isn't agile, but it is confident. The grip from the Goodyears is phenomenal and makes it feel very safe.
Which one is more fuel efficient? Out on the highway, the Brezza gets a staggering near 25 kilometers per litre when driven at a reasonable pace. Yep, the Nexon's highway fuel efficiency is lower by 1 kmpl. In the city too, it's staggeringly fuel efficient, just under 22 kmpl in our standard test conditions. Yes, there's a big difference in the city fuel efficiency, but that's down to the gearing, which gives you the great drivability in the city. So, which one has the most niggles?
You could accuse the Brezza of having body panels that feel flimsy, whereas the Tata feels solid. But
yes, the Brezza doesn't feel as sturdy, but everything works the way it's supposed to.
Which is something we can't say for the Nexon. We had several issues with the Tata. The starter motor jammed, the door lock got jammed, the right hand side DRL and tail lamp stopped working, which meant we had to send it to the service center to get things fixed. So, finally, which one is better value? Tata Motors has priced the Nexon quite well, with the top-end diesel variant undercutting the Brezza, but it's the Brezza that feels like better value. It has a bit more equipment, like automatic headlamps, rain-sensing wipers, and better hardware when it comes to the touchscreen and reversing camera. But the Nexon has a couple of trump cards as well, like its superb music system and the drive modes.
So finally, which is the one you should put your money on? And so the winner is, yes, we couldn't decide when we had the cars on test, and for a couple of good reasons. First and foremost, yes, they're different kind of cars, but they are closely matched, and we didn't know where the Nexon would be priced. Now we do. Yes, it's a little bit cheaper than the diesel Brezza, but is it significantly better value? No, but it is better value. And when you look at the entire package, the way it looks, how it feels on the inside, and how it is to drive in the city, which is the big win for the Nexon, it just ends up feeling like a very appealing product. But the Brezza isn't without virtue. It is the more fuel efficient package here. It is the one that feels more spacious, is a bit more spacious, and is definitely more peppy. But the balance still rides in the favor of the Nexon. And that is until we come to the next point. And this is where a little bit of heartbreak happens, because this is where we come to the niggles. We faced a fair bit with the Nexon. Despite the service, some of them didn't quite go away, and these weren't the only issues that we've heard of, right? So when you factor that into the equation, the Nexon just feels like a package that is not one we could recommend without hesitation. So it's really a case of Tata and the Nexon throwing away its advantage here. And now the winner Yes, it definitely doesn't feel as exciting, especially not after standing next to the Nexon. But there's no doubt about it, the Maruti Suzuki Vitara Brezza is a capable package. And while it won't pull at your heartstrings like the Nexon did, between these two, for now, until we are sure the Nexon's issues are a thing of the past, the Vitara Brezza from Maruti Suzuki is our pick in this comparison. So, what did you think of our review? Agree or disagree with the verdict? Let us know in the comments below.